and and we are, like the nice lady just said, the meeting's being recorded for minutes, and that's about it. So as is our custom, we start out with public comments. Any public comment on items that are not otherwise on the agenda?
No comment.
You're the public. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the review of the minutes from the last meeting. Any corrections, additions, or edits to the meeting minutes from March 7th?
When I reviewed the minutes, when they finally got them, I did not make the last meeting, and I was really disappointed that I wasn't going to make it because the budget guy was supposed to be there. And then I reviewed the minutes, and it said there was no budget discussion because it wasn't finished. Do we know when we're going to be able to get that back on the agenda? I know you indicate it might be May before it was done.
Yeah, next month. I'm going to confirm that with our finance department, but that's what I'm targeting is next month.
Okay.
Just to clarify, the reason we deferred that discussion was, we have the initial results of the operating budget for last year and the actual operations, but we don't yet have the amended or edited financial statements that show how all the adjustments are applied,
right,
which is a fairly significant amount of our documentation. So we decided to wait to get David Goldsmith involved when we actually had workable documents, and we could get them out to you guys, so you could take a look at them and stuff beforehand and have your questions ready to go.
Yep.
Any edits or amendments or adjustments to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, we're going to assume that they're approved as submitted and move on to the parking lot discussion. It's kind of one of those can of worms things. We have opened the discussion for the last two meetings, had discussions starting out with reading the current policy and so forth. And so, Chris, if you could answer one question for me, the current policy is in our policy manual under, paragraph 17.1 or something like that. Is that correct, or is that city ordinance?
It's city ordinance.
Oh, okay. So we may end up having to amend a city ordinance. Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
It does. I will say that in the opening line of that ordinance, it says that the harbor master has the authority to make changes as you see fit, that kind of thing, something like that.
Right. And when you think about the other ordinances within the marina or the other city ordinance, it does say that the harbor master has the authority to issue rules and stuff as well. So I don't know that we would need to amend this city ordinance, but we would certainly need to amend our policy guidelines.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Based on the harbor master authority. So
okay, so I may have I don't have the final packet in front of me, but Chris and I talked back and forth and looked at some potential options and so forth, that I assume those 4 or 5 options are the things that the committee received in their packet. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah. And I can read over them real quick if that would make it easier.
Well, let's take them one at a time. The issue is primarily one of, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's primarily one of the fact that we've got a limited amount of parking, and if we try to accommodate a lot of long-term parking, it exacerbates our problems during the peak season. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. We want to keep it equal for everybody.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Equal for everybody, or equal for the people who pay the bills?
Equal.
I mean, that's a fine point.
You're absolutely right.
The tenants.
Okay, equal for the marina tenants. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, the existing policy and/or ordinance, I think, it says something about during the daylight hours, we're a public park and so forth. But as soon as, we're after whatever 5 p.m. or whatever it says, then it's the rules shift to a priority that favors tenants.
That's for the floating docks part. The marina's, basically closed to the public. That's why we have the big gate after 5. And that applies to that. As far as the parking lot goes, there is no specification like that.
Oh, okay. I thought I read that somewhere.
Just for the marina part, the wet part.
Okay. So, Chris, why don't you address the issue that the first of the remaining options, and then we'll talk about that.
So we have option A, B, C, and E. Ken's packet's a little bit different. The option A is create a long-term parking area at one of the east ends of the sheds. All of these, I had many more options in this, and Ken and I whittled it down. So I had put in the alleviates the issue column, and some of them were no, but most of them were potentially. None of them were yes, just on that. So my concern about doing that would be this type of area might invite theft, as we've got cars just sitting there, much like the boats. It might send the wrong or the right signal to the wrong people. Oh, that's where they park the long-term cars. Let's just go over there and we'll have new cars every month to choose from. So that's my challenge with that, is more of a safety concern for our tenants' vehicles.
Okay, as it's this option discusses or opens the topic for that creates a new long-term parking area at the east end of some of the storage sheds, or all of them, maybe, I don't know, whatever works. But let's hear the comments on that particular option. What are your pluses and minuses?
I can't think of too many pluses for it. I think the minuses are just like Chris said. By doing that, you're creating an area where people are going to see these same cars sit for day after day. That's going to allow them to kind of easy targets for theft.
The only way you can alleviate some of that is if the lot was secured behind,
or you have
behind a
video
fence.
Surveillance and
Video surveillance and behind a fence.
Yeah.
And
Well,
again, that would cost money.
And it wouldn't stop it.
No,
So
it wouldn't
on
stop it, but it might deter somebody.
It would, but like on base for long-term storage, we still end up having issues with people jumping the fence there and messing with cars too.
Yeah.
And that's on base by a bunch of sailors messing with sailors. And you'd think it would be more secure there, but it's not.
Well, refresh my memory, Chris, if you would, but I recall a single theft of a boat on a trailer in the past, I don't know, 5 years or so. Have there been other instances of vandalism or theft or anything like that?
Yeah, so we did have the boat stolen from, that was at the end of building 1. That was Brian and Dee's catamaran boat. Recently, we've had a couple outboard motors stolen off the fence line within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I had another boater tell me that he thought somebody had been on their boat, but they couldn't get into where they had their stuff or something.
And Ken, Youth Sailing has had one boat and trailer stolen from there, and one gas tank, 12-gallon gas tank full of gas, but the gas wasn't as important as the tank itself, which cost us about $150.
That was a couple of years ago, right, Byron?
Yeah, and the boat and trailer was about a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And within the marina proper, the floating part, there were thefts of, I don't know, 3 or 4 outboard motors off of dinghies and so forth. Because mine was one of them. So I remember that pretty clearly, but that was like 5 or 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, that person went to jail, so.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so no, I don't intend to, I mean, we're kind of opening this can of worms a little bit at a time, and there are pluses and minuses to just about anything. But one thing that, you know, when Chris and I were discussing the east end of the current storage sheds as a long-term parking area, we started thinking about other options. You know, in the paved area where the general parking area is now, out next to the fog line, there's a long line that is used. Typically, it used to be used during race week for people that would park in a like a north-south line. I mean, that's not completely correct, but as far as the compass is concerned, but you know, people would park along that line out there, and other people would park along the fence line from where the last boat storage is, you know, up to towards the gate and so forth. So we just kind of spitballed for a while, and I said, well, why don't we think about lining that area out there between the existing parking area and the fog line, and you know, just designate parking areas out there. And then also, I don't recall whether we talked about this or not. It occurred to me later that, you know, we could do the same thing with, if it's possible. And again, I'm not absolutely clear on who owns or controls what, but we could do the same thing on the area from the kind of where the those glass recycle bins are now, all the way up to the you know, the gate almost. Just to indicate that those are parking areas, because the people that normally park there don't park diagonally or, you know, straight in parking or whatever. They park however they feel like parking at that moment. And you know, because we only have a limited amount of parking. The thought process that I had was that we only have a limited amount of parking, so what can we do to expand that? And one other thought was, I know, and those of us that are yacht club members, this is a sensitive issue, but why couldn't the yacht club say, okay, we're going to designate 6 parking spaces for long-term use by Marina, or I'm sorry, by yacht club members, you know, maybe in that area up by the dumpster, or beyond there in the gravel or something like that. You know, none of these things are going to solve an entire problem, but you know, we were just trying to figure out, you know, ways that we could, you know, dampen the problem. But
Hey, Ken,
yeah,
I have an idea. How about in the grass where the bocce balls are, if we have pull-in parking from the Marina office under the trees where that grass is, and then all the way around and up to the yacht club? I've never seen anybody use bocce ball yet, and that would be a much better use for that all along there, and all it'd have to be is a little bit of gravel.
actually, we did talk about that, and that's a good idea, and thank you for reminding me of that. Because yeah, there's a lot of territory there that
Maybe 25, 30 spots right there.
yeah, and again, some of this falls into what's within our purview, and then what's controlled by the park department or the Navy or the, you know, streets or whatever.
Ask the Parks Department, though, we'll never find out.
That's true. But you know, I agree with you. I have never seen anyone use those. Well, other than a couple of stray cats, I've never seen anyone use those courts down. There was supposed to be a big draw. You know, there were going to be hundreds of people down there, you know, using those courts and stuff. And as far as I know, it never happened. I'm not down there every day, but I'm down there a lot. But
well, how about Chris? Chris, do they use those bocce balls?
Every once in a while, people will use them. We've had some yacht clubs use them. We have all the equipment upstairs for people to use, but I have seen some people come and use them. Not, if you have, you know, a full year, I'd say a dozen times.
Which is odd, because the ones at Roach Harbor are used all the time.
Right.
You know, the exact same thing at Roach Harbor, and they're constantly in use.
Yeah,
I've
done it.
What if we move them in further?
Huh?
What if we move them further in the grass so there's parking right up next to them?
That's,
I don't know. There may be parking space there now. I don't recall what the measurements are.
for that one, I would have to go to the Parks Department and talk to them and Public Works, to the Director of Public Works even.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
True, if you
what we're
grab-
looking for is not necessarily solutions, but the good ideas like this that we can look at. Because I agree that right now, people that want to utilize the park in the marina parking area. They don't. There's no requirement that the park supply their own parking or anything, or additional parking, so that the pressure is taken off. So
There's an idea that I've seen down at Elliott Bay, where the marina tenants, they buy a parking pass. They literally buy a parking pass to be able to park close to where the ramps are to the boats. Anybody who does not have a parking pass parks in an area which is further away, and that may be a solution. Chris very accurately pointed out that there were 420 slips and 170 some odd parking spots. But out of those 420 slips, I'm not sure exactly how many of those people actually come to the marina. So, we could probably staff this to figure out exactly whether there is a number that people would buy. You took the first step, Chris, by issuing parking, stickers to people's cars, two per tenant. Maybe, just maybe, and I haven't really thought this through completely, that there is a charge associated with that, some nominal charge to get those. And the people who have those stickers can park in that lot in front of the ramp, and people who do not have those stickers cannot park there. And if they do get parked there, they get a ticket, because people have paid for those spaces. So, I'd like to staff that idea a little bit better, but I think it has potential to alleviate the tenants' parking issue.
mhm.
I see Byron's nodding his head, so I think at least he agrees with me.
But then the police department would have to patrol it to write tickets, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I couldn't write tickets, so.
So Ryan, you were trying to say something too, did you? Well, go ahead, JJ.
No, but I was saying what's the difference between, if there's a paid parking lot and people who aren't allowed to be there, park there, there's no difference between, the police having to come and write parking tickets.
Mhm.
I mean, I can see that, being an issue. Like I said, I'd rather staff it out, Steve, a little bit better and think it out a little bit better. But I think that may be an idea where, if this is truly an area that we need to be concerned about right now, then that may be an answer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Ryan, did you have something to add?
Well, yeah, so I'm trying to understand. So to pay for a park, we're already paying for the slip fee, right? So now you want them to pay for a parking pass so that they can park in the parking lot too?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about other people?
No, I'm talking about marina tenants.
What?
I'm talking about marina tenants, Ryan. It's like that. If you go to the one I'm most familiar with is Elliott Bay. The people who I know who have their boats there, they pay. It's a nominal parking fee in addition to their moorage, and it's a yearly fee, and it gives them a sticker which allows them to park in the first 3 rows of parking spaces that are very close to the gates and the ramps that go down to the docks. People who do not have those stickers, have to park a considerably further distance away, and that may be a solution. I'm not saying it's completely thought out, but could be a solution.
Yeah, Chris and I did have
How does that
other. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Other comments.
How does that
Ryan,
alleviate? Yeah, I was going to ask, how does that alleviate the fact that the issue of when people go cruising that they leave their cars there? Because even if they have a sticker, they're still leaving their cars there. You know what I mean? Like, and my question last was really how many people in the marina actually go cruising and leave their cars for multiple weeks? I know we have a couple that go to Alaska, but it can't be that many cars. I think the greater issue is just we're getting more and more use of the marina and that boat ramp. And that's kind of to JJ's point, is like, hey, are we going to be fair to the tenants, or are we going to be fair to the other people that are coming? And it seems like we're going to try to be more restrictive to the tenants by charging them a fee and allowing everybody else to just be like, hey, there you go, you got parking spots.
I think
you're right. And again, I don't know that we're going to reach a conclusion this evening, but we're putting all this on the table. But I will say that in previous discussions about this, that area is a city park, and we actually don't own or control it.
True.
And there's a big sign out front on the right by the main gate to the base that says welcome to this city park, come and enjoy, and so forth. So I am sympathetic with the idea of having some exclusivity for the people that actually pay the bills, but I'm sure that that the city would have some issue with us excluding other members of the public. So to Ryan's point, the issue of long-term parking, apparently it is a problem. Hopefully we're trying to address something that is a problem. So Chris, can you confirm for us that this is a problem, the long-term parking?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's at times it turns into storage, not parking. And what we're talking about is maximizing the parking for the people that are coming and going on a day-to-day basis, not only for the year-round tenants, but when we say tenants, we're referring to the crabber who rents a slip for a month, and we're talking about the guy who's been there for
Right.
or so.
Sure.
So we just want to make sure that we have an even level playing field, but then we have the X factor of the park as well. And knowing that we are a city-owned marina with a city-owned parking lot and a city-owned park right next to it, we're not going to be able to change that habit, nor should we really want to, honestly. So we're just going to have to work around that. And we've gotten three pretty good suggestions right now as far as how to enhance the parking, but we haven't really focused in on what we want to do with the people that are going to be long-term. And I believe there's going to be even more this year now that Canada's open. The people I've talked to, people are like, Yahoo, we're heading that way for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's awesome. That's great. I encourage, I love people using their boats. So what we need to figure out is what we're going to do with these cars. Is it a problem? It's not a huge problem on the Richter scale, but I see it heading in that direction now that everything's back open and good to go. So
I will say that some of what we're talking about here as potential problems and solutions are getting into the next categories that we had.
Yeah.
But
let's hear from Byron. Has a comment. He's been chomping at the bit there.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm down at the marina a lot, and everybody else that's here is down at the marina a lot. Has anybody ever not been able to park at the marina when you come down in the summertime?
Only during race week.
Race week, yeah, race week. We don't have race week anymore.
Right, and the first weekend of crabbing season seems to be an issue.
That could possibly be, but I don't think we have a real crisis situation right now.
No, the hydros creates a little bit of an issue as far as parking is concerned.
Yeah.
And 4th of July creates a little bit.
Oh, the marina's closed on 4th of July.
Well, for 2 hours
until after the parade.
Yeah, yeah, busiest boating season of the year. Okay, so
Well, I will say, Byron, just for the record, Byron, the last time I came down there when I couldn't find a parking space was a few weeks ago when the regatta was going on, the high school kid regatta. That parking lot was packed
Oh,
too.
Okay,
And,
all right.
and we'll say
open-
one of the things that we're trying to address, we're not going to get it all out here, but one of the things that we're trying to address is if we are all cognizant of the problem, and every person that's going to be gone for an extended period of time brings one vehicle and limits their stay, and files a cruising plan and a parking plan
Yeah.
with the marina or something like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of what we're dealing with is uncertainty, because we really don't have that good a handle on the information and so forth. But I know I've done it before. I've been down there with my wife getting ready to go someplace and so forth, and we decide in advance that we're going to have one vehicle down there. And I don't always, but I often will file a cruise plan, but it doesn't say anything about that I've got one vehicle in the parking lot for 2 or 3 weeks or something. So if we could, and a lot of this comes down to policing, and we really don't want to turn the marina staff. I don't think we want to turn the marina staff into people that are also parking police. I think that's just a tremendous waste of time, but it could be the solution, I guess. Go ahead.
I had one other comment, and that's there was one suggestion on Chris's blurb there about that we pay for parking on a long-term basis if we're going to be here, and that's great. I like that. I mean, if we could, but I think it's since I think that priority has to be given to marina tenants, and there's no reason, to be fair, there's no reason that a marina tenant who's paying for a slip should be paying the same rate, the same daily rate as a non-marina tenant who's put his boat on the trailer going cruising for a month and paying a daily rate for parking. The marina tenant is paying for a slip, and he ought to, there ought to be a different rate for the tenant versus the non-marina tenant. That's all I have to say.
And that's why
Yeah.
we've just been charging them and not the tenants, right? I mean, we look at that too.
Yeah.
But in all honesty and all fairness, paying for parking is a thing. I recently took a flight. I had to pay $10 a day to park, but I bought a plane ticket and I used the airport, and I bought food in the airport. You go to a baseball game, you buy a ticket.
Yeah, it's not quite the same.
No,
It's not
you
quite
aren't paying $300 a month for
finish my thought before you cut me off.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Chris.
And brutally honest, nowhere in your contract does it say you get a parking space for your moorage. It says you are purchasing moorage, not a parking space. Just being real, just being honest. That's truthfully what it says. So just
what about liveaboards, Chris?
liveaboards, it actually says in their agreement they can have 2 cars in the marina parking lot.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
2 liveaboards can have 2, but the rest of us can't have aren't guaranteed any spots.
So
That's correct.
and now you've just made a point, Chris, that goes back to my point, which says that marina tenants can buy a parking pass,
Right.
at a nominal fee to be able to park right outside the gate.
Right. But we could only sell a limited amount. There's
Right.
just a few there. So no, I see your point. I think all of these are great ideas, but I'm just being real with you guys that the contract does not
Well-
guarantee you parking. So
So one thing,
It does guarantee the liveaboards 2 spots for
correct.
what, $70? How much do they pay a month? It's
roughly
pretty cheap.
70. You're about right.
Yeah. So they get 2 spots for $70 a month. The rest of us get nothing for
Nothing.
whatever we pay.
For
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
one thing that we need to find out is, and I don't know what venue we would do that. Blaine can probably point us in the right direction, but the question is, can the marina charge for parking? That's,
We would have to just put it in the master fee schedule, go through city council. That's all we'd have to do. How we charge the launch ramp people is we just consider it storage over the 72 hours because they're not technically marina tenants and they're using
Mhm.
a day use area, essentially. That's what the launch ramp is. You buy your $10 pass for the day, basically.
no, but they're not confined to just the area down there by the ramp, right?
No, we try and keep them in that area and we try and keep them on the ends of the buildings. I don't like putting trailers in the main parking lot because the driveways are probably to what they're supposed to be, but they're narrow. It seems like it'd be difficult to get a boat trailer in.
Well, it takes 2 parking spots too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So-
these are all, I mean, they're all issues. I don't think we're going to decide anything. Maybe let me try to do some staff work on my idea and present it and see what you guys think.
Sure, yeah, and that's true for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
our idea tonight was to do some brainstorming so that we can come down to something that we can put in policy. And I think, we still need to allow staff, well, give them some guidelines, but allow staff some latitude to say, okay, well, you've got, only 4 people and it's in the off season. And,
Yeah.
if they want to leave 2 cars there for a month, fine. There are times when that sort of thing is appropriate.
Yeah, and
But-
then when you have the dragon boaters there and they got, 30 people in one boat,
Yeah,
so
and at times we've had the whale watching boat, and we've had, other groups and entities and so forth. So yeah, we know we're going to have crunch times and stuff, and we can't legislate everything. But what we
No.
should do is have some defensible guidelines and stuff. But so all these ideas are important and so forth.
Absolutely.
And some of them we can implement and perhaps some we can't. This whole idea of the city park is a much bigger deal than we think. But I think we need to get to make clear what the rules are, what are the constraints are on the marina dictates as far as the utilization of that real estate. And also lean on the Parks Department to say, hey, look, you're part of this problem. Help us solve it.
Mhm.
And frankly, I think that if the yacht club is considering that to be sacred property, it's actually leased from the city, and I don't know what controls that lease, what that lease says or anything, but there could
do.
be an option to, if we can get a half a dozen, 20, whatever parking spaces for long-term parking, I think that's a plus. It's a win-win. Am I off base with that, or what do you think?
yeah, I think you're kind of off base with that, but the
What
reality is that the parking lot is not in the confines of our lease, the yacht club's lease. So when you look at the footprint of the area that the yacht club leases from the city, the parking lot's not included. So
So who controls it? The city?
the city.
Yeah.
We maintain it. We've resurfaced it. We've relined it. We've spent all the money on it. The city hasn't done anything to it. But
Yeah.
if you look at the actual footprint of what we lease from the city and DNR, parking lot's not
Mhm.
part of it.
Yeah. So if you as a yacht club member said, I want to park my car here for 2 weeks, would they say,
Nobody-
no, you can't do that?
No, nobody at the club would say anything about that.
Well, but if you actually did it, wouldn't you want some rule or something that said it was okay as long as you provided, license plate number and the days that you'd be there and stuff?
I've never really much thought about it because every time Kathy and I go away for a long period of time, we just have somebody drive us to the boat and leave our cars in the garage.
Yeah, that's always a better option, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
We very rarely will leave a car in the parking lot for more than a couple of days.
I would imagine that part of what's going to come out of this is just kind of some general hey, do the right thing kind of rules that say, do that. If you can have somebody drop you off, we've got a limited amount of parking, help us out here. And some people will do that. Not everybody, but some people will do that. So I appreciate that.
So
JJ, I'm just wondering what JJ, when you get back from cruising, then you have to call somebody to come and pick you up at the
I
marina?
do. I'm fortunate. My son and his family are all here, and
Well, it's a special situation, I guess.
yeah, it is. I have family here, so.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. That we don't have a car here, so if we come back a day early, or we come back, yeah, we do have to rely on somebody to come and get us and take us.
Byron, you may be able to get Brian to come and pick you up.
Yeah,
too.
he'd probably do it.
Yeah.
you can use the 1994 Marina pickup. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Or, figure out some sort of, anything is possible. We're just spitballing here, but
Yeah.
if we had a long-term parking area somewhere else in a shuttle service, there are lots of things that
Yeah.
are potentially doable. Some are less doable, but
So,
I think we're accomplishing something here. So the option C that you have in the paper is to apply most of these limits that we're talking about during the busy season from, June to September or whatever we think the busy season is. Does that make sense to you folks?
that
Yeah.
makes sense to the marina. I can tell you that.
I'm sorry, that was too soft. I didn't hear it. The heating system just came on in this trailer and it's a little noisy.
I think that makes the most sense to the marina. Really, we're not worried about the winter, that's not a big deal. It's just a busy season we're talking about here.
So when does the busy crab season start?
Usually about June, we start filling up pretty good. Sometimes even in May, but June, people are getting ready. July, they're crabbing. August, they're crabbing. September, they're out.
So you're talking about moorage space people or parking space people?
They're both one and the same.
Oh, okay.
This whole thing could be very different, Chris, based on what you're going to tell us later about the dock, about the launch ramp. That could impact a lot of what we do. I can't imagine hopefully the high school doesn't have a sailing regatta coming up anytime soon.
This weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah.
Oh,
We've already
baby.
met and trying to figure out.
Have you figured out what you're going to do? I don't mean to change the subject, but it's all kind of related.
Yeah, we're going to try and tomorrow take a look at that float at high tide, see what it's doing. And then try and figure out what our next step is as far as pulling it up on the hard or dismantling it and pulling it up on the hard. All of those answers will come in the next few days. And yeah.
Well, it looks like those pilings have to be redriven or reset or something or replaced. Is that, am I reading that wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. But that's down the road. Our first step is to get the float out of the water or tied up to the south log boom area.
The south what?
Log boom area, like where the city float is, directly across from JJ's boat.
Okay, so essentially we wouldn't have a landing loading float in the ramp area then.
Not until it gets repaired. That's right. Do you want me to jump into that whole conversation?
Yeah, we might as well since we're on it.
Yeah.
Let me just bring up a picture or two. So this is what I came to work and saw this morning. And then it transgressed into this picture you guys have already seen, plus that picture. But here's what we see now. So what we can do we can get those pile out of there ourselves. The one is broken on the left-hand side, the south side of the picture. The one on the right, I'm not sure if it's pulled out or broken or a combination of both. And then we can separate these floats. One potential solution is separate the floats and then pull them out with a bulldozer or truck or something, put them up on the hard. The other option may be just to pull the pile out of the way and then just pull the whole thing up on the hard and separate it there. But the challenge is we have to get that out of there. That thing, once those pile go 100%, and that could happen tonight or tomorrow or who knows when, there's two cables that run the length of that, one on the right side, one on the left side, tension cables. Then between the bull rail where my cursor's pointing there's chain as well holding those together. So once these pile go, this thing's going to flop around like a spaghetti noodle at high tide. And that's where the danger in my mind is. Eventually it'll break off. JJ's boat's in prime target zone. The fuel dock's in prime target zone.
Oh, no.
So I want to get this thing secured to the log boom or preferably out of the water. We do have a call into Moffett Nichols. They were the engineers that did the breakwater, did a great job there. So we'll get them looking at it. They're likely going to say, get it out of the water. And then we'll figure out how to put it back. It's an integral part of the marina, so I'd really like to see it put back. We've also notified our insurance company, WICA, I believe is what it is, or WCIA. And we've also notified the boat owner's insurance company and opened a claim there as well. So there's a lot of notifications we've made. Now we've got to figure out what to do with it. I'm kind of hoping that the marine engineer Moffett Nickel will show up tomorrow and we can get an idea of how this thing is put together, because of course we don't have plans, and how we can take it apart and then use staff to bring it up. Or another option would be to bring in a company like the ones that fix the FDOC breakwater American, have them come and take it out on an insurance claim as well, real quick. So there's some options, and over tomorrow, seeing what it's going to do. High tide's at 7:30, 7:40. It's a 10:08, and I want to be down there and see how this thing's reacting at a high tide with the wind, and see if we have to make a decision right there to yank it out, or if we can wait till Moffett Nichols gets here and go from there. But
yeah, what's the flotation underneath there, Chris?
Styrofoam tubs.
Oh, okay. So will they survive?
Do you have any idea, Chris, how can you pull it out? Do you know, have an idea on how to pull it out?
Yeah, we'd have to get some equipment from Public Works, maybe a backhoe or a bulldozer or something. And then even where do you hook to it? Is the thing going to come apart when we pull on it, you know?
Yeah.
So
is the marina going to have to foot the bill for this?
I don't
like, for example, if you get equipment from Public Works?
Well, anything that we would be billed would either go towards our insurance company or farmers. It's not clear to me was the marina responsible. Like you said, there's no signage on this thing. Did it fail because the pile broke? Did it fail because the boat, you know, there's a lot of different ways this can go. But my immediate concern is to make it safe. And I don't feel it's very safe right now, honestly. We do have the sailing regatta this weekend, so I'd like to get something done so they can use the ramp and do their thing. But there's just a lot of unknowns at this point. This is a pretty major deal. So
Mark Dahl's insurance, if he has any, is probably has some responsibility as well.
It could be a three-way thing too, you know. I don't know. But we've got to get it out of the water or secured somehow. I thought about just throwing some anchors off the end, you know, at angles.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know that that'll hold once this stuff starts going, right? So,
Well, it's another obstacle too.
I
yeah.
can't imagine what it would weigh with all those mussels and growth on the bottom. That's
Yeah.
been there for
Every time it
generations.
grounds out, it gets scuffed up. So
Yeah.
hopefully there's not too many on the bottom.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a given that, there are a lot of possibilities and we don't know what the solution is and stuff for this. So I think we're just going to have to leave it in your capable hands, Chris. And if anyone comes up with any astounding ideas about, lifting it out with a helicopter or something, just let Chris know, because, the rest of us aren't going to be having to deal with it.
It does affect the
No.
regatta this weekend, and we're kind of
Yeah.
making contingency plans and stuff. My greatest fear is that it swings around and hits something or somebody, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
Greg.
thinking that the youth sailing docks might be floated around there and anchored somehow and so forth, but you still run into, that's a Band-Aid that I'm not, if the wind doesn't blow, there's no problem, but that's a problem for the racers, of course. But
Right.
we can't plan on that. So
And
anyway.
I know if we say, okay, you can use the ramp, but not the float, and we put signage all over the float, people are going to use the float. So that's just human nature.
Oh, yes.
And that's
Sure.
going to be a liability issue for the city.
Yeah, if it's there, they're going to try to use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the owner of the trimaran on the boat this whole time?
Yeah, he was. He was actually a pretty decent guy.
Well, why didn't he move it when he sees tearing everything out?
Once the wind hit and this thing failed, it was so strong. He had a 44 horse engine in that trimaran with a single prop right in the middle. Because I talked to him about backing out and going to FDOC, and he didn't feel comfortable doing that. And I don't think it would have happened either, actually, truthfully. I think he
Well,
would
that
have
sounds
ended
like
up in the breakwater.
kind of on him then.
Yeah, that's the battle that'll have to be fought between the insurance companies and the city
Yeah.
attorney, I'm sure. So
What was the wind direction at that time?
the wind direction was out of the northwest.
Oh, bad. Okay. Well, let's unless somebody else has got some good ideas, let's see if we can wrap up this free-form discussion on the parking issue. We've talked about doing some sort of a surcharge, and again, that gets back to the whole issue of, can we do that in a park property? To the best of my knowledge, there is no city facility that requires paid parking at this time. But that doesn't mean that something couldn't be done. So, we need to investigate that, those few basic principles before we decide on, because I think some of these things about surcharges and, designated certain areas for long-term parking, and that's all predicated on whether or not we can charge. We already charge for parking along the fence line and other things, so I don't see it as a real deal breaker thing. But the whole issue of the public without a boat that wants to drive down there and turn their kids loose in the playground, that's still a problem that we've got to be able to address.
Yeah, I might suggest that option F is divide this into two conversations. The first one is, what do we want to do this summer? And then the second part of that would be, let's have a long-term discussion as far as parking in general for the marina.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we just focus on the summer, and we certainly don't have to decide it tonight, but we definitely have to by May at the next meeting, which will be the finance meeting, which we can make it a little longer if we want, but just going over these, limit the duration for a predetermined period
Right.
year round, make it just during the boating season is option C. And then option E is charging the storage rate. I mean, does that make sense to divide it into two conversations?
Well, it does. And I think we're getting kind of wrapped around the axle with the charging money for parking. You know, I think kind of like somebody said earlier, there's really only a couple times a year where you can't find parking when you come down to the marina. And if you did like something like option C and just appeal to the people that own boats that are tenants there and say, hey, if you're going to go cruising, limit your cruise to 1 or 3 weeks. If not, try to find someplace else to park your car. I think most people would comply with that.
Yeah,
You know,
I do too.
You know, like JJ pointed out, he was going to leave his car in his garage, which is okay. You know, like I'm a liveaboard, and if I was going to go to Canada, I would go park my cars on base because I just wouldn't want it left unattended out there for that long. But that's just me, you know.
So that's interesting. 3 of you have said you would leave your cars elsewhere. That's kind of fascinating to me. So
And Brian, I
Well,
just
yeah.
talked to Brian, and he said he'll pick you up and bring you down to your boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any time of the day.
But,
Any time of the
Well,
day
yeah,
or night.
so-
That's right.
yeah, so one year I came back after cruising. This was before we were liveaboards. I came back after cruising, and we went up to Canada actually, and came back, and the gas was gone out of my pickup truck. And I never drive my pickup truck to where like I get in it, start it, and the light goes off that I need gas because I always get gas on the way home. So, you know, what can you do? It's just, so that's why I said, I just don't ever, if I was going to go up to Canada and leave my cars for a prolonged period of time, I'd go put them somewhere else.
They'd have a
That's why I said
hard time getting gas.
yeah.
They'd have a hard time getting gas
What's
out
that?
of my car.
Oh, yes.
They'd have a
That's
hard time
true.
getting gas out of my Tesla.
Yeah, but those batteries
if
are
I-
about.
There, but yeah,
And
you know,
Chris,
like I said, I think it's the good nature of the tenants and say, hey, this is our policy. If you're going to stay longer than 3 weeks, try to find another place for it. Or, you know, that's kind of when you can kind of go to that long-term storage rate if you wanted to, you know, where they could buy a pass to kind of, then that way they know that somebody's at least maybe watching their car. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. And that way you're not charging for everybody that comes down there. The mom that brings her kids to the park or anything like that, you know, there's got to be, you know, like I said, I don't know.
You know, I think those are good points, Ryan, and that's almost what we're doing now, truthfully, is basically
Right.
the honor system is like, hey, if you're going, leave your car elsewhere, please. Marina staff doesn't have time to control the parking lot.
Time to time.
And I will say that we used to have a problem of, there were a couple of derelict vehicles down there, and that problem has pretty much gone away. And I assume that's because you're policing it a little more carefully. Is that a fair statement?
The parking passes have actually, yes, it is, but the parking passes have actually helped with that because
Oh,
now
good.
we can discern who's a marina tenant using the facility and who's maybe a young person who's going on deployment looking to store their car for a while, you know, that sort of.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
helped out a great deal.
Okay, so Chris, have we given you enough
Limiting
things to cogitate on in the interim till the next meeting?
Yeah, I think that really the next step is for us to think about these 4 options here. And then at the next meeting, make a recommendation and then get that out to the marina tenants, whatever that recommendation may be.
One obvious thing that we haven't talked about is, I don't know if anybody would do it, but if we got the Navy to say, okay, we'll open that gate over by the recycle bins and, you know, you can park cars in there for long-term parking. You know, I don't know, that's nothing that we've asked of the Navy or anything during this kind of discussion, but even if they would allow that to be done, I don't know I don't think I would leave my car over there, but I don't know, would anybody do that?
I don't think so.
Anybody?
I don't see how the Navy would ever agree to that either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I
You
don't.
know, so, yeah.
Well, and it's kind of given to the region now as opposed to when things
Yeah.
used to be the base, you know.
Right. The base CO has almost no authority to do anything
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
So,
And the old, you know, we've almost beat it to death and never accomplished anything, but the old idea of just getting the Navy to move the fence, you know, a couple hundred feet to the east would solve a lot of problems. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
so-
wishful thinking, and
Yes.
something that we should keep on our list of wishful thinking items.
So real quick, just the takeaways from this conversation. I am going to talk to our engineering department and see if we can stripe that area north of the gate there, all the way up to the regatta or Pioneer, I mean. And then I'm going to talk to the Parks Department or Public Works and see if we can, even in the summer, just run like baseball chalk parking stalls in the edge of the park or something. I don't know if that'll fly. That's obviously out of my realm of responsibility, but I know.
Yeah, I was curious about the space there, and from the end of the striped parking area to the, I think the fog line there is about 35 feet. So
Yeah.
there's enough room for some cars, some parking.
But the Navy has a gate in there too that they still use once in a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we need to figure out is how wide that gate. I need to look, does the gate open? It opens out, I think. So I'll have to do some research on that.
And
I
Chris,
saw-
Chris, one more thing to consider is that the Navy just put up that sign about the truck turnaround. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're using Catalina Drive there as their turnaround for trucks that come to that gate that aren't supposed to be at that
Yeah.
gate. So, and that, if I'm not mistaken, everything along that fence line is Navy property, is it not?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
And they've been turning trucks around in there for years. and-
right. But I'm saying if we
Yeah.
actually put parking spaces there and people were parked there, it might inhibit that the ability to turn trucks around there. But that's just something
Yeah,
to think about.
that's true.
Yeah.
And then JJ,
Okay,
you're gonna think about this paid for parking pass idea a little bit and do some research.
I am. I'm gonna sit down and put some thoughts together, and maybe I can come up with another option that we can look at.
All right.
yeah, great. And I would encourage that for everybody. You know, we need some bright ideas, and you're a bright group of people, so you know, prove that. Okay, moving along after, you know, Chris has talked about the deliverables there, and we've already talked about the immediate issue with the launch ramp and so forth. And in the latest information that's gone out, talks about the end of the winter storage program on FDOC
Yep.
slips 38 through 51.
Yep.
What about the winter contracts on ADOC? Is that clear to everybody?
Yeah, that's still got another month. That'll end in May.
Okay.
What's exciting about FDOC is we are getting multiple reservations every day. We've got, I think, 5 clubs booked now.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, I was telling Byron, and I can't remember the sailing instructor's name off the top.
Oh, Andrews.
Sean O'Connor.
Ron.
That,
How thrilled Swinomish Yacht Club was with watching them out there and how much fun that was. And how that actually led one of the Swinomish Yacht Club members is a big player in the Willard Boat Club, you know, Willard Boats. And we booked their rendezvous because he had such a good time here and even asked if we could put on a youth sailing event. So I said, no, I don't think we can do that. But so that was,
Or you say, sure, we can bring them all down.
yeah,
It'll be there.
yeah. Bring a float with you so they can launch.
yeah, we could have some of our high
Yeah,
school out
they're
there.
coming.
You know, training.
They're coming during that Whisker Regatta or whatever it is that same weekend.
Yeah,
Oh, are there really? Well, then there'll be boats out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll
good.
be fun.
Oh,
So
speaking of which, on that last big regatta we had, did we have any problems with, you know, people giving right away on the water or anything?
Not at all, Ken. I was thinking there was going to be some confrontations and so forth, but we had a few boats that left during the time when we had races, and they all waited until there was a lull, and nobody complained.
Well, Please.
it was well done.
You mean they're grown-ups acting like grown-ups?
Yeah.
Damn.
That worked out well.
That's
That was
impressive.
good communication.
Any other, Chris, any other Marina update comments you want to make, or?
Just one note that Dick is returning for his 5th year. He's the older gentleman that usually works at the fuel dock and that sort of thing. So he just started. So we're anxious to have him. And we're also have some requisites out for 1 or 2 more seasonals. So if you know somebody over 18 that enjoys being outside in the sun in the summer and wants to earn a few bucks, send them to the city website or have them give me a call and I can fill them in a little bit about what's expected.
Do any of those positions add to our compensation budget?
No, they're budgeted in. They're budgeted
Okay.
in for this year.
And how many hours are these people getting a week, Chris?
40.
So they're full-time for the summer.
Yeah. For 4 or 5 months, just depend upon how busy it is.
Okay.
Ideally, we'll get them started around May in some capacity. And if they're students or whatever over 18, we can work around that as well till they get out of school.
Okay.
But they have to be 18.
Okay. We're getting close to our traditional closing time, but Marina Advisory Committee comments, anybody have anything to add?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
When are we going to start meeting in person? The mask mandate's off, everything's off.
Well, some of us aren't very cute, so we kind of enjoy the mask thing.
We have one more meeting this year. We found that last year it was really hard to get everything ready in the summer. So we have one more meeting. I can check with the city, but I'm not entirely opposed to meeting in person in May. But let me find out and send an email out. If you guys are
just kind of, does anyone have a strong objection against personalized meetings? Personal meetings, I mean. Okay,
Does
good.
anyone have an objection to Zoom meetings? Yes, me.
Let me get some more info on that, and I will send out an email in the coming days.
Okay.
Say,
Any other?
Chris is, yeah,
Go ahead. Any other comments?
Chris, is the marina going to be closed once again for Holland Happening Parade?
I have not heard that officially, but I would suspect so because I know they're doing a parade. So
yeah, they're doing a parade, but that didn't always preclude the marina being
right.
closed.
Yeah.
Sometimes they stage in front of Bob's house there, and you
They
can
should, yeah.
So I will find that out too.
Now, that's a Chamber of Commerce event, is that right?
I don't know if it's city or chamber.
It's
No.
It's the chamber, and it's the 23rd. Is that correct? The Holland Happening Parade is the 23rd?
No, it's the 29th.
Oh, 29th.
Well, yeah.
What I heard,
yeah,
what I
29th or
heard
30th,
was
yeah.
that the marina was going to be, the marina access was going to be limited between 9 and 11 a.m. on that day. And that that was hearsay, but that's all I heard.
We'll send out a general communication, but I'll send one out before to you guys.
Okay.
And of course, we'll close the marina on the 4th of July, which is the busiest boating day of the entire year.
Yeah, I think we ought to do that just because it irritates you so much. No, we need to figure out ways to, share the road or something, because it is nuts, because it's the most dead end piece of street or access in the entire city, and we managed to plug it up on purpose several times a year, and we should be able to fix that. But having the parade entries marshaled on the along the either side of whatever it is, Regatta, or is it Pioneer Way? Anyway, that would take care of the prop, as long as you let the law enforcement people know that it would be okay for people to drive down and access the marina.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because that's been the problem a few times. Okay, we'll endeavor to get answers to that, and I will contact the Chamber of Commerce and parade people and so forth, see if I can get them on board.
Yeah.
Okay, if Don't hear any other comments. It's certainly, you know, the agenda is still open in terms of good ideas that we can act on for Chris and the parking area. So please think about that, and I appreciate your commitments to do that. Our next meeting is May 2nd. Blaine, did you have anything to add, or are you just enjoying the fact that we're closing up shop here?
No, you're doing good. I was going to add some points, but you pretty much covered them. So,
Okay. All right. Next meeting's May 2nd, and Chris is going to inform us about the changes and the idea of, you know, what we're going to experience relative to Holland Happening Parade, and we'll try to distill out some of our issues that we've been brainstorming about parking.
Yep.
Okay.
all right.
If we have no other business, Chris, you were trying to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And I'm going to call an adjourn to the meeting, and you all enjoy the nice long evening here.
And North Carolina is up by 10 over Kansas in the first half.
So who are you ex-Gonzaga people rooting for?
You know, either one. It's just like, you know, I'm a big fan of Coach K, but I'm kind of glad that he's not going to win in his last game. But you know what? I like Kansas. I think Bill Self runs a really nice program, and so does Hubert Davis at North Carolina. So,
Okay.